Though King Robb was already facing difficult challenges, matters only grew worse when he learned that his bannerman, Rickard Karstark, furious over Catelyn's release of Jaime Lannister, killed the 2 Lannister children they held in captivity, claiming the right of vengeance for the death of his son at the hands of the Kingslayer. Robb was so outraged by his actions, he hanged all involved except Karstark, who was arrested. All of his advisors told Robb to keep Karstark as a hostage to ensure the loyalty of his men, but Robb refused and executed the traitor himself, causing nearly half the army to abandon him and return north. Needing to rethink his strategy, Robb decided the strongest move he had left was to attack Casterly Rock, the seat of Tywin Lannister. To do so, he needed more men, and so sought to win back the loyalty of House Frey by arranging for Lord Edmure Tully to marry Rosalind Freyetta twins. Starting to see a possible path towards victory, Robb was further encouraged by the news his wife Talisa was pregnant. Further south, Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth made their way to King's Landing, but were captured by a man named Locke and his men who served House Bolton. Though they had grown increasingly hostile to each other, Jaime saved Brienne from being raped by her captors, telling them she was the daughter of Selwyn of Tarth, Lord of the Sapphire Isle, and lied that he would pay her weight in sapphires if she was returned unharmed. Unfortunately, Jaime's constant attempts to offer them money greatly annoyed Locke, who decided to cut off his sword hand and allowed the wound to grow infected. Starving, dehydrated, and in constant pain, Jaime was ready to give up and die, but Brienne convinced him to keep fighting for survival. When Locke at last delivered Jaime to Roose Bolton at Harrenhal, the Lord sent Qyburn to treat his arm, before offering him freedom, saying that all he wanted in return was for Jaime to tell Tywin he had nothing to do with taking his sword hand. During his time in Harrenhal, Jaime grew increasingly close to Brienne of Tarth, opening up about what really happened during Robert's rebellion and how he killed King Aerys II only because he was planning to blow up the city with wildfire. When Jaime departed for King's Landing, he said goodbye to Brienne, who remained a prisoner, but on the road, learned Locke rejected an offer of 300 gold dragons and would rather use her for entertainment than take the ransom. Unwilling to allow it, Jaime forced them to return to Harrenhal, where he rescued Brienne from a bear pit, before they returned to the capital together. Near to King's Landing, Davos Seaworth, who was thrown into the water during the Battle of Blackwater Bay, was rescued by Salladhor Saan and returned to Dragonstone, where he lashed out and attacked the Red Priestess Melisandre before being arrested. Informing Stannis about a ritual involving King's blood, Melisandre then left Dragonstone to go on a secret mission, while Davos remained in prison, receiving occasional visits from the King's daughter Shireen, who liked the Onion Knight and offered to teach him to read. Meanwhile in the Riverlands, after escaping captivity in Harrenhal, Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie encountered a band of outlaws that called themselves the Brotherhood Without Banners, made up of former Baratheon loyalists, led by Beric Dondarrion. Though Arya was posing as a boy named Aery, her true identity was exposed when she was recognized by Sandor Clegane, who was arrested by the Brotherhood. Gendry and Arya then left with the outlaws, while Hot Pie remained behind at the Inn of the Crossroads to work as a cook. Once in their hideout, Sandor was accused of many crimes, but most he did not personally commit, and so stood trial for the murder of the boy Micah, to which Arya was a witness. Choosing to decide the matter through trial by combat, Sandor fought and killed Beric Dondarrion, winning his freedom. However, the Red Priest Thoros of Myr performed a ritual to revive the Lightning Lord, saying that while they cannot explain why this was occurring, it was the 6th time he was resurrected. After the Hound's departure, it was decided Gendry would stay to work as a blacksmith, while Arya would be ransomed to her family. But plans quickly changed when the Red Priestess Melisandre arrived to purchase Gendry for gold, as he was the bastard son of Robert Baratheon, and therefore possessed the king's blood she required. Shocked to learn that Thoros now had the power of resurrection, she soon departed, leaving Arya enraged by the Brotherhood's betrayal, running away only to be captured by Sandor, who planned to sell her back to her family. Back on Dragonstone, Stannis started to have second thoughts about sacrificing the life of his own nephew, and went to Davos in his cell for counsel. The Onion Knight succeeded in convincing him to spare the boy, and was then released from prison. Disappointed, Melisandre was left to perform a lesser ritual, using 3 leeches to take blood from Gendry, and then burning them in a fire while saying the names of 3 rival kings, calling for the deaths of Robb Stark, Joffrey Baratheon, and Balon Greyjoy. With Davos now literate, he presented Stannis with a letter from the Night's Watch, suggesting that they forget about the South for now, and go north to answer their call for reinforcements, thereby demonstrating their loyalty to the realm. Despite her animosity towards Davos, Melisandre agreed with this idea, as the battle against the darkness would happen in the north, and so that was where Stannis belonged. Returning to the Riverlands, King Robb and his army made their way to the Twins to attend the wedding of Edmure Tully and Rosalind Frey. However, despite being protected by the ancient tradition of guest right, the Starks found themselves betrayed at the event later known as the Red Wedding. After Edmure and Rosalind retired for the bedding ceremony, the Freys and Boltons turned against the Starks, massacring their forces, resulting in the deaths of many, including King Robb, his mother Catelyn, his pregnant wife Talisa, and the direwolf Greywind, while Edmure Tully was captured and Brynden the Blackfish went missing. Though Arya was nearby during the attack and tried to run to her family, Sandor knocked her unconscious and carried her away, thereby saving her life. Devastated by the death of her brother and mother, Arya attacked and killed the first Freys she found on the road. With the massacre finished and the Starks defeated, Roose Bolton was left as Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North, while Walder Frey was given Riverrun. In the north, after being betrayed and knocked unconscious by his own men at Winterfell, Theon Greyjoy awoke a captive of unidentified assailants, subject to torture until rescued by a servant claiming to be an agent of his sister Yara. Though his new ally seemed to be leading him to freedom, the entire escape and pursuit was an elaborate game for the servant, who was in fact Theon's torturer Ramsay Snow. Once recaptured, the torture continued, as he was cut, beaten, skinned, and castrated, until left so broken and terrified, he responded to the nickname Reek rather than his actual name. His father Balon and sister Yara learned of his capture when Ramsay sent them parts of Theon's body, along with a demand that they withdraw from the north. Though Yara was horrified and set out to rescue him, King Balon was unmoved and offered no help. Love audiobooks? Then be sure to check out Audible, where they have the world's largest collection available. Simply sign up through the link in the description box below and get 2 free audiobooks to start out. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Soul Guide Medical, Sir Dayrin of House Ashford, Fred Heartless, Knight of Iron and Ice, and Anaxis the Grey King. If you'd like to help CivilizationEx, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click on the links to see more.